nice to see that basically the entire guitar industry is lying to us about basically everything from tone wood to pickups to tubes.
Here's the thing, I'll paraphrase Jim Lill, who just put out an excellent video there like a couple weeks ago, is that, the cost of home recording has gone down astronomically. So now we can take all of these myths and put them to the test. And that's the thing, once you start making A-B recordings instead of relying on your memory, you can actually hear what's really going on. And it turns out the things that we thought made the massive changes in sound really don't do all that much.
Why another guitar review? I thought only speakers made a difference in your tune. Oh yeah, Spectre paid you! So I guess that is the reason this guitar has its own tone.
Oh, hey Ben, thanks for watching my review on the amazing Spectre Reaper. Thought this was a lovely guitar, thought it played brilliantly, and at no time did I say it was going to have its own unique tone. Not even fucking once. So I don't know, maybe try watching the video before shooting off your big stupid mouth. That might just help a little bit. That way you won't come across as an imbecile. Now I will give you a little bit of credit. You have been paying attention that yes, the speaker is by far and above the biggest deciding factor in your tone. And when you get into things like pickups and woods and that kind of stuff, the differences are going to be slim to none at all to complete myth, especially when you're playing at gain. But I gotta say this, it never ceases to amaze me how upset people get about things I never actually say. Like in the video on this guitar, at no point did I say it was gonna have any kind of tonal advantage over any other guitar. Fuck! Seriously, Ben, did you wake up this morning and say, hey, I'm gonna go out of my way to be an annoying pain in the ass for no good reason? Seriously, dude, you're gonna be a great wife one day.
It's amazing how similar pickups are when you A-B them with the exact same volume.
Yep. That kind of blew me away, and that's the thing I made sure to do. In any pro audio shootout, the first thing you have to do is match gain. Now, I've never said that pickups don't have different outputs. That's completely not true. Of course pickups have different outputs. That's kind of the whole point. Low output, high output, blah, blah, fucking blah. We get that. But I want to hear differences in tone because I want to hear if there are these amazing, gigantic shifts in guitar sound that they've been claiming that will get, oh, this will improve your tone, this will improve your tone. Well, it turns out, no. It's pretty much bullshit. When you're talking about humbuckers, anyway, single coil to humbucker, sure, you're gonna get a big fucking difference in tone. Nobody's claiming otherwise. But when it comes to humbucker versus humbucker, the differences just aren't there. Not like the manufacturers have been claiming anyway. That is complete bullshit.
Instead of telling you how many subscriptions I'm willing to pay for, here's all the subscriptions I'm already paying for and let you guess my answer. Electricity, medication insurance, internet, cell phone, home insurance, life insurance, car insurance, YouTube, lol. How many y'all got?
Well, I'm Canadian, so I don't have to pay for health insurance, so yay, Canada. That's actually a huge expense. I'm so glad we don't have to deal with that shit here. I think you got a great point, though, is that we are used to paying for some subscription services. I mean, yeah, we're going back on the whole Wave subscription thing. And yeah, Waves really screwed the pooch there and backpedaled, and I think they got like a $29.95 sale going on right now and a bunch of stuff. So I'm probably, after I'm shooting a couple of these videos, I'm gonna go over to the Waves site and see what's for sale. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna have a few more comments on the Waves thing in a minute, but I think you do have a good point though. We do subscribe to a lot of fucking things already. So I do understand that, but it's a little bit different, say, paying for electricity, which has to be continuously generated, versus subscribing to something that already exists and just paying monthly for something that a one-time payment will work for. I'm not saying subscriptions are bad per se. There's definitely certain advantages, especially for those of us who don't have a lot of disposable income. Again, I'm going to come back to this in a sec. But I think what Waves did was a really dumb move, and I'm really glad they are backpedaling and offering some cool prices on what they've got going on right now.
Serious question, can we produce fantastic music without Waves? I'm concerned if one plugin controls the entire industry. I'm new to music recording / mixing. I'm starting to get good results, but I know I have a long haul.
Yes, there's some phenomenal options out there that aren't Waves. You know, there's UAD with their whole suite of plugins. They do some wonderful compressor emulations, that kind of thing. There's PSP out of Poland, which are just phenomenal. They came out with the Vintage Warmer like 20 years ago, and they are still crushing it. They've got this channel strip plugin I demoed a couple years ago. That's just simply phenomenal. And I think the one brand that doesn't get as much appreciation as they should is Mic DSP. They just launched a whole new suite. They totally redid their graphic interface. The stuff is absolutely beautiful. Absolutely love working with the Mic DSP stuff, and they've got a channel strip that'll rival anything out there. and would highly, highly, highly recommend checking out the DSP stuff. Any of those brands are going to be great. And the great thing is they give you options. Subscribe or buy, your choice, and that's super cool.
I hate the concept of software subscriptions and rent to buy. Honestly, all the Waves plugins I have and those I've considered getting have been replaced by free plugins, mostly from Analog Obsession. And the AO plugins are leagues better than a lot of the Waves products.
Okay, now this is where I'm going to come back on the whole subscription thing. I think you've got a great point. I think you got a great point about Analog Obsession. Here's the crazy thing. I'm actually subscribed to Analog Obsession because I really like what the guy is doing. I subscribe to his Patreon. I do that by choice. It's not because I have to go buy it. It's just I think what the guy's doing is awesome and I want to support him because I think it's fucking cool. Here's the whole problem with Waves versus some other people offering subscriptions. I mean, like, when Slate came out, they were, buy what you need kind of thing, and they had packages and deals and that kind of stuff, which is really cool. And they eventually started offering a subscription model, which was absolutely fine because they get it. Not everybody has all the money to buy all these plugins because it can seriously add up. But if you're paying $15 a month for a subscription service where you get access to everything, that's really cool. I know Scott Elliott from Chernobyl Studios, creator of Guitar Tone Mastery and whatnot, he subscribed to the Slate bundle because he would have never been able to make that course without those plugins, and he didn't have the money to pay for all of them. So that really does make a lot of sense. The whole subscription thing can be maybe a little bit more nuanced, either than it's good or it's bad. It might be good for some people, it might be bad for some people. Not everybody's the same, and I certainly understand that. There's always two sides to an issue. Now, I was having a discussion with my friends last week, and I was saying, hey, I want to take a look at the other side of the subscription issue. And they're like, well, you're going to look like an asshole. And I'm like, well, I try and take a look at both sides of an issue. I did the same thing with Mac versus PC there last year. Why Macs are good for recording or why PCs are good for recording. Okay, yeah, same kind of idea here. Subscriptions are bad when Waves pulls some stupid bullshit like making the people who already paid for their plugins subscribe. Versus, subscriptions being offered for people who might not have a lot of money to kick around. That makes perfect fucking sense. I mean, case in point, Netflix. You think I can afford to buy all the movies on Netflix? No. But for one low price, I get all that fucking choice and I can watch exactly what the fuck I want. That being said, can't wait for the next season of Stranger Things. That's when that shit's cool because they can take all that subscription money and import into cool, unique shows. That really works well. And this is the thing, if a plugin company is coming out of the gate for something really awesome, they want to charge subscriptions right from the get-go, I've got no problem with that, as long as it's a reasonable price and they're offering something that's more than the sum of its parts. That's perfectly fine. The problem with Waves was they think they're Adobe and they're not. Adobe came out with the software subscription model. I think they invented it there a few years back for stuff like Premiere and Photoshop and all that kind of stuff. They thought, hey, let's squeeze the customers for even more money. And when they did it, they were pretty much the only game in town, so they could get away with it. In the plugin world, that's just simply not the case. There's just way too much competition. SSL comes to mind as well. Their plugins are fucking brilliant and will definitely give Waves a run for their money. 20 years ago, sure, Waves was pretty much the only game in town. They had plugins that were just simply better than everybody. But these days, that's just simply no longer the case. Fortunately, they've unstuck their heads from their asses and are offering something a little bit more competitive. But, make your existing customers go to subscription only. I think that's just a dick move. Here's the thing with the back on the Adobe thing. I actually subscribed to Premiere and Photoshop and all that. I was on their subscription plan for about a year or whatnot when I was doing the show. But DaVinci Resolve came along and offered something better that I could buy, which was great. But this is the thing, for anybody who's working professionally who needs to get content out the door and has been working with Adobe Premiere, they understand what a giant steaming pile of elephant dung it is because it just crashes and crashes and crashes. And it crashes when you hit the fucking save button. That's what drove me away. I'm like, I just finished a project, go to hit save, and it fucking crashes. Like, how the fuck are you supposed to work with that bullshit? It's like, I need to fucking get a show out the fucking door. That's why I work with Resolve, because it's far more stable. I'm more than happy. I told Adobe to go to hell a couple years ago, but I'm more than happy to subscribe to Analog Obsession as well.
Full mix sounds like a machine head track. Even mixing is similar. Fucking awesome.
Oh, you're talking about the Tonex video. Yeah, I was really happy with how that turned out. I really do think the age of digital amp sims have finally arrived, and I'm going to be using them more and more on the show. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sell my tube amps anytime soon, but I don't need a wall of them sitting here taking up space when I can use that for shooting. It's so nice to have some space in here. Think of all the activities.
So many activities.
Seriously, we were just shooting some acoustic guitar in here last night and it was great. And I'm like, oh my God, I've actually got room to put a musician in here and set up a couple of cameras and stuff. Fuck, it's like what this room was designed for, something weird like that. Now, in other news, this episode sponsors 70,000 Tons of Metal, otherwise known as the most fun you'll ever have with your clothes on, is already gearing up for the 2024 cruise and just announced Puerto Plata in the Dominican Republic as next year's destination. The cruise will go from January 29th to February the 2nd, and if it's anything like this year's cruise, it is going to be absolutely nuts. It's 4.5 days of nothing but non-stop metal. I got to do the 2023 run, and it was a complete blast. I saw a ton of bands, including Dragon Force, Camelot, and Nightwish, plus many, many other bands. And I do mean many. But it's not just the band. There is so much to do, like shore excursions, all-night karaoke, meet and greet with the artists, and of course, the belly flop contest. The weather's great, the food's great, and most importantly, the people are great. The metal community on this cruise is really something else. Now, if you're a headbanger and you haven't signed up for 70,000 Tons of Metal, I've got to ask, why the hell not? It's a seriously amount of fun, and I hope to see you guys on board in January 2024.
Absolute BS. I can do 300 more things in my Kemper than with this. You should not have Kemper in the title. All things are useful. IK is useful. It should have been titled. I use lots of other products, but so is the Kemper. It has its use, but there's no way I would ditch both my Kempers for this. Absolute BS. Done with these type of reviews. I'd rather balance information. Now you can join the bass players. Enjoy.
Yeah, I think somebody's a little upset they spent a couple grand on a Kemper and now something's coming along for a fraction of the price that does the job better. Dude, that's just how technology works. We spent thousands on PCs and they're outdated in a couple years. The Kemper's had a very long run and it still works. That's fine. But for those of us who can hear the aliasing, hooray for Tonex! Something new's come along that's going to sound just simply better. That's the reality of the situation. Sorry you don't like it. Get well soon.
You cannot capture anything. It's an illusion for tone deaf says it's all the hardware simulators. There's always market for you deaf guys, so now a talent simulator that captures the talent of Hendrix and Page be the new black for the generations. But anyways, they don't even know that artists exist, probably.
Hey, Ignacio. Think it's time to lay off the dope, pal.
Kemper is not obsolete because you can use software to record. Kemper sound and will sound very good forever. It's not like it's going to start to sound better after X number of years.
Hey, man, I get it. I get the whole thing about depreciation. You spend thousands of dollars on something only to have the value of it plummet. You think that's bad? You think buying a Kemper is bad when something new comes along? Try buying a new car. That's a wonderful investment.
That is a silly headline. The Kemper isn't obsolete at all. It's more than just profiling an amp. Many bands go on tour with them. Try doing that with AmpliTube.
Try going on tour with AmpliTube.
When will you tell us the signal chain for that pickup test, Glenn?
Oh, it's simple. I just recorded everything directed into the computer and sent it back out on a reamp with all the levels matched so we could hear the tone shifts. It's amazing how little of a tone shift you hear. There was some, especially, weirdly enough, the Harley Benton had the beefiest bottom end out of all the guitars in that pickup shootout test. But it's amazing just how little of a tone shift there really is when you go into an amp at the same level. The Fletcher-Munson curve is real. I'm going to do a follow-up video for that sometime in May. I'm doing a lot of traveling this month, unfortunately. We're going to look at it from a couple of different perspectives as well. And I'm going to show you exactly what the Fletcher-Munson curve is, how it works, and how it's burned so many guitar players and convince them to spend money when they really don't need to.
To this point, it has to be said, you have reviewed multiple Harley Bentons with major issues, yet continue to try them. Spectre have now had a couple of opportunities. Maybe it's time to give Gibson an opportunity to try to redeem themselves.
Yeah, I have had a lot of Harley Bentons on the show, and they all have one thing in common. They don't cost $3,000! Fuck! That's the thing. I can afford to get some Harley Bentons in here because you can actually afford to buy them. When I drop $3 grand for a guitar, I expect the paint to be fucking flawless, not a cracked, chipped piece of garbage. Fuck! You understand the slight discrepancy there? That's why I like having Spectre on the show. They make great guitars, really nice finishes. They don't cost astronomical amounts of money. Will I get another Gibson on the show? Maybe at some point if I got a spare $3 grand laying around. Sure, no problem, because it's certainly never going to be the case because Gibson's never going to send me a guitar. That's just not going to fucking happen because they're probably going to be terrified of that I'm going to be honest about their guitars. There's a lot of other great stuff out there that doesn't have the big G on the headstock, and it's a wonderful fucking option to what's being claimed as, the whole play authentic thing. It's like, oh, fucking Give it a rest already. I'll just say this about Gibson. I hope they're stepping up their game. I'd hate to see people lose their jobs because of fucking poor quality. But they'd better unstick their heads from their asses and realize that times have fucking changed and nobody gives a shit about those fucking legacies anymore. It's just the kids coming up today do not give a fuck about that whatsoever. They better come up with something cool pretty damn quick.
This channel, you don't need more gear, use what you have. Also this channel, non-stop ads for gear.
That's the thing, I tend to review a lot of gear on here. My whole point is, you can look at two sides of an issue. For those of us who don't have a lot of money, use what you have to the best of your ability. That's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you've got a little more disposable income and you like checking out new gear, yeah, you can do that as well. I understand that the internet can be a real polarizing thing and we can tend to hate people who with different opinions than ourselves, but we need to understand that there's a lot more to life than, you're wrong, you must die! I mean, that's just religious fanaticism at some point. There's nothing wrong with looking at both sides of something.
420, not kicking bands out anymore after a fifth take attempt, I hope then, huh? Let's be honest here, that has been a ridiculous standard to have, law, because of that 90% of people are like that.
No, David, that rule is still in place. That's the thing. The studio is not the place to learn your material. You're supposed to do that ahead of time. So that way you can work on your performances. Here's the thing. If you can't nail something apart in 5 takes, you have no business being in the studio. You shouldn't even been thinking about recording. You want to come in and capture something amazing. You don't want to sit there and fuck up your way through your tracks. I've seen that happen too many times. And people wonder why their albums don't sound fucking great. You didn't fucking put in the time! That's something I've been saying on the show from day one, and that definitely has not changed at all. I mean, there's nothing worse than sitting in a studio all day watching some guy just blunder his way through his tracks. That's not fucking inspiring in the slightest. I want to record a band live off the floor in a couple of takes and just have him bang it the fuck out. A lot of the greatest bands in the world used to do that. Judas Priest, Queen, bands like that. They come into the studio, play fucking live, tear it up, and then move the fuck on. We need more of that. We need less of the fucking 7-minute boring as hell gent instrumental epic explorations and more rocking the fuck out. That's my opinion anyway. If you disagree with it, go fuck yourself.